Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like something wasn't quite right? Like someone had just played a game with your mind, and you weren't even aware of the rules? If you felt this way, you're not alone. Today we're diving deep into the shadowy world of psychological manipulation, the invisible forces that shape our decisions without us even knowing it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at human interactions the same way again. Picture this for a moment. You're standing in front of a puppet show, watching the characters dance and move across the stage. But what if I told you that in real life, we're often the puppets, and we can't even see the strings? This isn't science fiction or conspiracy theory. This is the reality of human psychology that brilliant minds like Carl Jung and Niccolo Machiavelli understood centuries ago. Let me share something that might surprise you. Every single day, you're exposed to dozens, maybe hundreds of psychological influence techniques. From the moment you wake up and check your phone, to the advertisements you see, to the conversations you have with friends and colleagues, manipulation is everywhere. But here's the thing. Not all of it is evil or harmful. Sometimes, understanding these techniques can actually protect you and help you navigate the world more effectively. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of all time, once spoke about the shadow self, that dark part of our personality that we hide from the world and often from ourselves. He believed that everyone has this shadow, this capacity for darkness. And those who understand how to tap into these hidden aspects of human nature, well, they hold tremendous power. Jung warned us that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But what happens when someone uses that understanding against us? Think about the last time someone made you feel guilty about something. Maybe they sighed heavily when you said you couldn't help them move. Maybe they reminded you of all the times they'd been there for you. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, that's emotional manipulation at work. It's subtle, it's effective, and most importantly, it bypasses your logical thinking and goes straight for your emotions. Now, let me tell you about something called the reciprocity principle. Robert Cialdini, a leading expert in influence and persuasion, discovered that humans are hardwired to return favors. It's so deeply embedded in our psychology that we feel physically uncomfortable when we owe someone something. Manipulators know this. They give you small gifts, do you tiny favors, always with a bigger ask waiting in the shadows. Have you ever wondered why free samples work so well in stores? Or why that colleague who brings you coffee every morning suddenly needs a huge favor? Now you know. But the rabbit hole goes deeper, much deeper. Niccolo Machiavelli, writing in the 16th century, understood something fundamental about human nature that still holds true today. He wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Master manipulators craft personas, wearing different masks for different people. They become chameleons, adapting their personality to match what you want to see. With one person, they're the caring friend. With another, the ambitious colleague. With yet another, the vulnerable soul who needs protecting. Each mask carefully chosen to trigger specific responses. Here's where it gets really interesting and a bit scary. There's a technique called gaslighting, named after an old movie where a husband slowly drives his wife insane by making her doubt her own perception of reality. Modern gaslighters don't need to dim the lights. They rewrite history in small ways. I never said that. You're being too sensitive. That's not what happened. Drop by drop, they erode your confidence in your own memory and judgment until you start depending on them to tell you what's real. Let me pause here and share something important. If you're recognizing some of these patterns in your own life, if you're feeling that uncomfortable twist in your stomach right now, that's actually a good sign. It means your intuition is working, Your subconscious mind picks up on these manipulation attempts even when your conscious mind misses them. That gut feeling you sometimes ignore, it might be trying to protect you. The dark triad, psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. These aren't just words from psychology textbooks. They represent real personality patterns that exist in about 1 to 2% of the population. These individuals see others not as people, but as pieces on a chessboard. They study human emotion, not to connect, but to control. They learn empathy not to feel it, but to fake it. And they're often incredibly successful because they're not held back by the guilt and anxiety that keep most of us in check. But here's something fascinating that most people don't realize. These master manipulators often have a weakness. They assume everyone else is playing the same game they are. They project their own manipulative nature onto others, seeing threats and schemes where none exist. This paranoia can be their downfall. As Jung wisely observed, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Now, let's talk about love bombing, one of the most intoxicating and dangerous manipulation techniques out there. Imagine meeting someone who seems absolutely perfect. They shower you with attention, affection, and admiration. They text you constantly, want to spend every moment with you, tell you you're their soulmate after just a few weeks. It feels like a fairy tale, right? But fairy tales aren't real, and neither is this instant, overwhelming devotion. It's a calculated technique designed to create emotional dependency. Once you're hooked, once you've reorganized your life around this person, that's when the mask starts to slip. The isolation technique often follows close behind. Slowly, subtly, the manipulator creates distance between you and your support network. Your friend seems jealous of our relationship. Your family doesn't understand you like I do. Why do you need other people when you have me? Before you know it, you're alone with someone who now has complete control over your emotional world. But knowledge is power, and understanding these techniques is your first line of defense. When someone seems too good to be true, when the relationship moves at lightning speed, when you find yourself constantly defending someone's behavior to others, these are red flags waving in the wind. Pay attention to them. There's another technique called intermittent reinforcement, and it's perhaps the most addictive of all. Casinos use this principle to keep people gambling. The manipulator alternates between warmth and coldness, affection and indifference, praise and criticism. Your brain, desperate to figure out the pattern, to get back to the good times, becomes addicted to the unpredictability. You find yourself working harder and harder for smaller and smaller rewards, like a rat pressing a lever for food pellets that come less and less frequently. Now, I want to share something that might seem counterintuitive. Sometimes, the most dangerous manipulators aren't the obvious ones. They're not the aggressive salesperson or the overtly controlling partner. They're the ones who present themselves as victims, who use your compassion and empathy as weapons against you. They always have a crisis, always need rescuing, and somehow, their problems always become your responsibility. They've learned that good people want to help, and they exploit that goodness without mercy. The cognitive dissonance technique is particularly clever. The manipulator gets you to act in small ways that go against your values or beliefs. Maybe they convince you to tell a white lie, to bend a rule, to compromise a principle just this once. But once you've acted against your values, your brain faces a conflict. Either you're a bad person who does bad things, or the thing you did wasn't really that bad. Most people choose to believe the latter, adjusting their moral compass bit by bit until north isn't where it used to be. Here's something that might surprise you. Some of the most effective manipulation happens not through lies, but through selective truth. The manipulator tells you true things, but only the truths that serve their purpose. They leave out context, ignore contradicting information, and present a carefully curated version of reality. It's not technically lying, which makes it harder to detect and harder to call out. Let's talk about the fear, obligation, and guilt trilogy, what some psychologists call emotional blackmail. After everything I've done for you, if you really loved me, I guess I'll just suffer alone. These phrases are designed to bypass your logical thinking and trigger emotional responses. They work because most of us are good people who don't want to hurt others. But remember this, you are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. Your first responsibility is to your own well-being. The future faking technique is particularly cruel. The manipulator paints beautiful pictures of a future together. The house you'll buy, the children you'll have, the business you'll start together. These promises keep you invested, keep you hoping, keep you tolerating present bad behavior for the sake of a future that will never come. They know that hope is one of the most powerful motivators, and they use it like a carrot on a stick, always just out of reach. But here's the thing about darkness. It only has power when we don't shine a light on it. Every technique I've described loses much of its power once you can recognize it. When you can name what's happening, when you can step back and see the pattern, you take back control. You become the director of your own life instead of an actor in someone else's play. Remember, not everyone who uses influence techniques is a manipulator. Parents influence their children to make good choices. Teachers influence students to learn and grow. Leaders influence teams to achieve great things. The difference lies in the intent and the outcome. Healthy influence uplifts both parties. Manipulation benefits one at the expense of the other. So how do you protect yourself? First, trust your instincts. That uncomfortable feeling, that sense that something's off, don't ignore it. Second, maintain strong boundaries. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify, argue, defend, or explain your boundaries to anyone. Third, stay connected to your support network. Manipulators thrive in isolation. Friends and family can often see what you can't when you're in the middle of it. Fourth, take time to make decisions. Manipulators often create false urgency. This offer ends today. I need an answer now. If you don't decide immediately, you'll lose this opportunity. Real opportunities rarely require instant decisions. Anyone who truly has your best interests at heart will give you time to think. And finally, work on your self-esteem and self-knowledge. The better you know yourself, the harder it is for someone else to tell you who you are. The more you value yourself, the less likely you are to accept treatment that's beneath your worth. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Look, I know this has been heavy. Learning about these dark aspects of human psychology can be unsettling. You might be reconsidering past relationships, questioning current ones, or feeling a bit paranoid about future interactions. That's normal. But remember, most people aren't master manipulators. Most people are just trying to navigate life as best they can, just like you. The goal isn't to become paranoid or cynical. The goal is to become aware, to recognize these patterns when they appear, to protect yourself and the people you care about. And maybe, just maybe, to recognize if you've been using any of these techniques yourself, consciously or unconsciously, and to choose a better way. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. You now possess knowledge that can protect you for the rest of your life. You understand the invisible strings that others might try to attach to you. And with that understanding comes power. The power to cut those strings, to choose your own path, to write your own story. If this video opened your eyes, if it made you think differently about the world around you, then share it with someone you care about. Knowledge like this shouldn't be kept secret. It should be spread, because the more people who understand these techniques, the less power they have over all of us. Subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into the human mind, and remember, you're not a puppet. You never were. You just needed to see the strings. Until next time, stay aware, stay strong, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. The only person who should be controlling your mind is you.